Hi kids. So the other day I was asking Paityn really what rhetoric was. Paityn decided she's going to do an unessay and explain to you what rhetoric is today. So here we go. Hi guys, so today I'm going to be talking about rhetoric in ancient Egypt specifically. So for those of you who don't know what rhetoric is the ability to use language effectively. Rhetoric in ancient times was used to make decisions, resolve arguments, and facilitate public discussion. Although rhetoric often is seen to be originated in ancient Greece and Rome around the 4th and 6th centuries, ancient Egypt showed many aspects of rhetoric, possibly even before then. It's often seen to most people as being almost non-existent, just because it's super hard to decipher exactly what the meanings were out of the ancient Egyptian languages and hieroglyphics. A lot of Egyptian rhetoric was very biblical in a sense. The basis of this rhetoric was mat, which is basically the concept of balance and order. Ancient Egyptians highly valued eloquent speaking. Eloquence is fluent or persuasive speaking and writing. The Egyptian approach to rhetoric is to find that balance between eloquence and wise silence. An American biblical scholar, Michael V. Fox, in 1983 looked into Egyptian rhetoric and categorized this rhetoric into 5 canons. The 5 canons are maintaining silence, restraining feelings, finding the right time to speak, speaking fluently, and speaking the truth. Based on this knowledge that I've given you, what Mrs. Boyd is going to do is use these 5 canons to reflect them onto philosophical chairs, Socratic seminars, things like that. I know we did a lot of Socratic seminars when I was in 7th and 8th grade. I know they were super difficult for me to figure out at first, but these are great points for going into things like that. All right, so let's talk about this as it relates to students. Let's get back to these 5 canons. Is that what you called them?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And let's talk about the first one.
Okay, so the first one, we have maintaining silence. Obviously, it's really important to listen when other people are talking. Oftentimes, just as humans in general, it's our nature to constantly be thinking about what we're going to say next, as opposed to really listening and getting a grasp on somebody else's opinion and building off of that. So obviously maintaining silence and just knowing when it's time to listen and grasp all the information and absorb everything that somebody else is saying.
Exactly. Let's give them a really quick definition of Socratic seminar. When would you use the Socratic seminar?
Oftentimes when I was in junior high or high school, we would use Socratic seminars based on our ratings. It's a really good way to bounce off other people's opinions and kind of the information that they got out of a reading, or even just a lesson in general. It just gives everyone a chance to bounce ideas off of each other.
So would you also agree that by listening you learn from the other students as well?
Definitely. I think it's just as important to listen to your peers and other students in the class as it is to listen to your teacher.
Good. Okay, so what was the second one?
The second one is restraining feelings.
What does that mean?
So basically, you kind of need to have a good idea of how much you need to hold back, not letting another side or another party activate you and your opinions. Super important not to jump quickly based on what somebody else says, maybe if you don't agree with it. Acknowledging what they said and why they feel that way, and then going off of that.
That reminds me when I put my class in 2 sides of the room and we do philosophical chairs. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes what I teach them is to say, well, I heard you say this, but this is why I feel this way. Mm-hmm. Or they can actually add to that, but also acknowledging what the other side said. But I've also had students get angry at what they heard another side say. It sort of ignited them and activated their anger. How can you think that, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So
totally.
You have to actually compose yourself, and that's sometimes hard to do when somebody says something that you deem unnecessary or actually offensive at times.
And what was the third one?
The third one is going to be finding the right time to speak. Practicing self-control kind of follows right behind that last pillar that we talked about. Making sure you're not cutting someone off and cutting their opinion off. These all definitely piggyback off of each other.
And the fourth one?
The fourth one is speaking fluently. So this is something I struggle with the most.
Me too.
Like I just did. It's super hard, especially me. I say like all the time. Definitely just my...
Isn't that kind of generational though? Your whole generation?
I would say for sure. Yeah. There's even times where I'm in a lecture and I kind of get the idea like in my head. I could count how many times a professor says like. It's just one of those fillers that we kind of use to fill the gaps.
Yeah. So I noticed when I'm watching back some of my things, I say, so. I do that a lot.
Now that I mention it,
those filler
it's
words.
harder. It's even harder when you're thinking about it not to do it.
Mm-hmm. And the fifth one.
This is super important, speaking truth. So kind of what we talked about earlier, restraining feelings has a lot to do with this. You're going to lose all credibility if you say something that isn't true, much like you'd lose all credibility if you go straight to anger or let your ego get to what you have to say. But you need to make sure that you're basing all your arguments on research and facts, not just opinion or what your mom or dad said. It might be true, but it's just going to be far more credible if you're getting it from a source.
Somebody is going to call you out on that, right? Because somebody knows the fact.
Yeah.
Here's the data to support that. So facts are very important.
Definitely.
Because we can let our opinions get away from us, right? Like you said, just things you hear from friends or things you see on the internet or things you just hear at home that may not be fact-based. So I think all 5 of these are very, very important, and I'm so glad you shared them with us today. So students can use this in philosophical chairs, Socratic seminars, and also debate. You guys are going to have the opportunities to debate sometimes in junior high or high school, and you can use all of these pillars to help you become the best that you can be. So thank you for explaining rhetoric to me.
Thank you.
I love it. Okay, kids, I hope you took down the notes, and thank you, Paityn, for doing that for us. And we'll see you later. Have a good day. Bye.